Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. So a few years ago I made a video basically talking about the different suburbs in Auckland and kind of talking about the prices and a bit of a guide for renting. So since then obviously it's been a few years and things have changed a bit. So I thought I'd make an updated version. So for those of you who are new here, my name is Catherine. I'm from New Zealand, so I did grow up in Auckland. So I've lived here for over 20 years, but obviously I don't claim to be an expert on everything. During my time here, I most of the time, I was a kid, I was living in, just a few suburbs. So obviously I don't know, everything about everywhere, but I feel like there's not a lot of information out there. So I think this could be very helpful if you guys are coming maybe to Auckland, maybe you're studying or working here, and you're thinking about where to live, kind of idea of how things work and the prices and everything like that. So I thought I'd make another video and just kind of an updated version, especially regarding the prices and the rents. Okay, so getting started. So obviously I'm just gonna zoom out for those of you who are completely new here. So we have the map of New Zealand, and then you've got the North and the South Island. So Auckland's pretty much in the north part of the North Island, and as you guys can see, it's surrounded by water. So it's kind of like almost like a combination of little small islands, which in a way it's nice because you've got water everywhere. So you've got tons of beaches and nature all around, but also, as you guys can see, it's quite spread out. Those distances are quite long, and being a big city, there is a lot of traffic and stuff like that. But zooming in, I'm gonna zoom in towards here, the central part of the city. So this area here is called the CBD, also known as the Central Business District, and this is basically where like all the big kind of buildings are. It's the skyscrapers, if you will. Not that we have that many, but so it's not actually very big, as you guys can see, compared to the rest of the city. Like, this is the downtown area, and it's known as the CBD. And if you hear people talking, like, usually they'll just refer to it as the city, or sometimes they'll say town. Like, we'd just say, I'm going into the city, I'm going to town, and it just means, we're going to, like, this area here. So, this is basically where you have, like I said, most of your big offices and companies, Sky Tower, and like the university. So you got AUT, University of Auckland, and then the Viaduct. You've got Waitemata. I think this used to be called Britomart. I think the name has changed. But as you guys can see, it's not that big of an area. So most people actually tend to live in the suburbs of Auckland. So you have basically here you have the North Shore. So there's a bridge. The Harbour Bridge, we call it, and then you have the North Shore, which is area north of the CBD, and then you have like West Auckland, Central, East Auckland, and then South Auckland here, and then this is where the airport is, and that's just kind of a quick overview, I guess. Okay, so going into the prices, so I'm gonna use the reference that I use has average rent per week. So in New Zealand, we do pay rent every week. And normally you also get paid your like salary I think it's every fortnight. Sometimes it's every week, depending on where you work. But that's usually how things work here. And the averages are going to be for a 3-bedroom house. So I'm assuming if you want to rent a room, maybe you can divide the price by 3, and that would be the rough price for a single person. Okay. Now, with that being said, so with the prices, we have Central Auckland. The average rent for a 3-bedroom is about $1,000. So this is definitely going to be the most expensive area. It's probably going to be living in, I'm assuming like an apartment, but obviously this is mostly for people that, you really value distance. You want to be based very central. You probably don't need a car. You can just walk everywhere, and obviously you have good access to, the public transport and things like that. And then going into, we have Central Auckland East, so we have Epsom here. The average rent for a 3-bedroom is $850, and then moving down to here, we have Onehunga. The average rent is about $720. So I feel like that's definitely gone up. I think because of the location, it's, you've got the train station and it's pretty centrally located, so it has good transport links. And then another area here, we have Sandringham, and the average rent for a 3-bedroom is $720. And then moving out here into the kind of just west of the city, we have Freeman's Bay and Ponsonby, which actually the prices are around $1,000 as well. So it's pretty similar to the city, which actually makes sense because I think this area is probably the most like hip and trendy, I would say. Like, there's actually not a lot of people that I feel like there's not that much going on in this city. So like if people are, wanting to go out or hang out somewhere, it's probably most likely going to be like, more in this area here in the Ponsonby. It's probably a more like hip and trendy area rather than the actual CBD proper. And then going a bit more west, we have Point Chevalier, and then the 3-bedroom the average rent is $820. Now I'm going to move on to the eastern suburbs. So first off, we have Addersley. The average rent for a 3-bedroom is $750. I haven't really spent a lot of time in Addersley, but it seems like a decent area. It's, pretty close to the city. You've got the train station, good transport links, and also close to Sylvia Park as well. And then we have Glen Innes. The average price for 3-bedroom is $680. Glen Innes, I feel like I guess you consider it more of a poorer neighborhood. There are a lot of like state houses, but there are also a lot of new builds. So I think it definitely is getting gentrified, for lack of a better term. But yeah, there are a lot of new houses here, and I can see a lot of like developments, and yeah, it's definitely good as in terms of like proximity to the city and transport links as well. Then you have Mount Wellington. Average price is about $690, about $700, which is actually surprising to me. I thought it would be Mount Wellington, which is average price is $680, which is about the same as Glen Innes. So yeah, I guess it's a similar vibe. Mount Wellington is a bit more central, I would say. It feels more urban. I think there's definitely, more going on in terms of like, you have a lot of kind of factories, you have Sylvia Park, and then you have the motorway. So yeah, I would say it feels like less of a residential area per se. Whereas Glen Innes and, this kind of area, you're kind of closer to the beach and more, suburbs kind of vibe. And then you have a bit north, you have Glendowie. So the average rent for a 3-bedroom is about $800. So yeah, Glendowie is definitely a very nice suburb. Close to the water, close to beaches. Here you have, a nice park here, and then you also got like city views as well, which is good. Mission Bay, another very sought after suburb. The 3-bedroom rents are around $850. So yeah, this is definitely a very popular area for tourists as well. You've got the very popular beach, and then just very close to the city. Going in a bit more, there's Remuera, and the 3-bedroom rents are again around $850. So yeah, this is definitely another kind of more high-end suburb, known for, I guess, where like rich people live. More kind of higher end suburb, known for the very nice houses, and definitely it's very close and convenient if you're somebody that goes to the city very often and you value, being central. Okay, now I'm gonna move on to the North Shore. So we have Albany. Albany is Albany. So to be honest, I don't really know much about the North Shore. I don't go here very often, but I know it's definitely growing, and it is a very popular place for a lot of people. So Albany, it looks like there's a lot happening here, and it's definitely growing, as I said. The average rent for a 3-bedroom is $720, which isn't bad, I feel like. Here you have Massey University, which is another big school here. So obviously, if you are studying here or if you're even just working, in the North Shore. There's a lot of companies that are based out here too. It could be a good option. We have Browns Bay, which is closer to the beach area, and the rent is similar to Albany, about $720 a week for a 3-bedroom. Moving down here to Glenford, it's $670 for a 3-bedroom, so it's a bit cheaper, and it is a bit closer as well, I guess, if you're thinking of heading to the city. But yeah, I don't really know much about these suburbs, so let me know if you guys have more info. Here we have Birkenhead. The 3-bedroom runs about $700, so it is a bit cheaper, which is nice. Going down here to the Takapuna, I guess Devonport area, rents are about $800. So I think this is a really nice area. A lot of people like living here in Devonport. You've got a ferry, so you can get to the city pretty quickly, although I think sometimes it does get like cancelled because of weather, so that would be quite annoying. And then Northcote Point seems to be the most expensive area, so it's about $880 for a 3-bedroom. I guess that kind of makes sense since you're so close to the city. But yeah, I don't really know what it's like to live here. I imagine you have some nice views, obviously, but yeah. Okay, and then I'm gonna move a bit more east to this area. So this is kind of where I grew up. So I do think it is a very nice place, good place to live, but obviously it is a bit far away, so not the most convenient. Although I would say public transport is improving and there are, better links than before, it's still a little bit far from the city. Yeah, so going into the prices for Howick, you have $680, which I think is very reasonable. I think Howick's a pretty good suburb, very like residential, very safe, and close to the beaches as well. And then pretty similar prices for Highland Park, about $670 as well, which is this area here, and Pakuranga is $660, so I guess that would be this area here. I think it's probably a little bit worse in terms of safety, a little bit less, I guess, residential, a lot of new like houses and apartments, but still it's very convenient area if you're someone that commutes a lot, you need to go to the city, and you still want somewhere that's kind of a bit more quiet and a bit more space. Moving down to Botany, we have Botany Downs, so that's 600 and about 700, which is about $700 a week for a 3-bedroom. I think again pretty reasonable. Botany is again a very residential area as well. You have look at all the cul-de-sacs, and then you have Botany Town Centre and Botany College. So yeah, it's pretty good in terms of transport links. Maybe if you work around here, then that's makes sense to live here. Going down here into Flatbush, so this is a very newly developed area. If you've been here, then you'll see that a ton of houses all around here, and they kind of all look the same. All of them are like newly built, so I would say they're pretty comfortable to live in. But again, the area is really, really bad in terms of public transport. I think if you are going to be based here, you definitely need a car. However, the rents are about $700 for a 3-bedroom, which is very cheap as well, which I think is very reasonable as well. And it's good in terms of, if you're working maybe in South Auckland, Manuko, or the airport, I think it's a pretty nice residential area. Then going a bit further down into Beachlands, the rents here are about $750. So yeah, Beachlands is it's a bit far away from everything. I remember that when I used to go to school in Howick, like some kids would like commute from Beachlands. So yeah, I guess if you really want the kind of like, not even rural, but I guess a more residential life, maybe you want to be like live on a farm and you just want to be a bit far away from everything, then Beachlands might be the place for you. Okay, now I'm gonna go into South Auckland. So we have Mangere, which is $630. I think that might be one of the cheapest places to live. South Auckland is known as like the worst part of Auckland, just economically and like just like socio-economically. I think places here, this is where things are the cheapest and the crime rates are the highest. Although that being said, a lot of people still choose to live here and have a good time, so I guess that's definitely I guess, you know, it's up to debate, and it's based on everyone's own situation. So yeah, Mangere, we have $630. I think this is a nice area if you're working at the airport, then it makes a lot of sense. It's very convenient. Here we have Otara, which is again about $620. Otahuhu around the same price, $630 a week. These are, I guess, decent suburbs, depending on your own situation. I mean, we do have Middlemore hospitals here, so if you're working around the hospital, then it might be a convenient place to live. Papatoitoi, which is $670 for a 3-bedroom. There's a big like Indian community here, so you can see there's like temples and stuff, so that's cool if that's something you're after. And then going a bit more south, you have Manurewa, around $630 for a 3-bedroom. And then Papakura is $640, so kind of similar there. And then finally going into West Auckland, you have Avondale. So Avondale is going to be about $670 for a 3-bedroom. Looks like you've got a train station here, so pretty convenient. I don't really hear much about Avondale. I feel like West Auckland, I think sometimes it has a bad reputation, but I think it really depends on which area. New Lynn is around $640 as well, so you've got Lynn Mall, big shopping mall, and then again, good transport links. Here is Titirangi, which is around $670 a week. Again, I don't really know much about West Auckland. I remember I used to work with a lady, and I think she lived around here, and she said it was actually a really nice area. You're very close to like the Waitakere Ranges, which is a big forest area, and you have, you know, the West Coast beaches. So if you're into nature, I think this is a really nice area. It basically feels like, you know, you're living kind of like very close to the forest, which is really cool. So yeah, I think that's a good option if you're, you know, into hiking or surfing and you want to be near that. And it's still, I feel like it's relatively affordable. Might just mean that, you know, it takes you a little bit longer to get to the city if you don't mind that. But yeah, that's kind of it for this video. I hope it was a little bit helpful. Again, please do your own research before, you know, committing to living in a certain place. But yeah, hopefully this guide was a bit helpful, and I'll see you guys in my next video.